Here we go again. We have a round of panelists on stage. Oh.
Tengo aquí mi routed water. Sí. Hola. ¿Está abierto ya? ¿Se me escucha ahora? No tengo yo...
Parece que lo tiene bajito y la diadema está un poco torcida. A ver.
Sí. ¿Sí? Sí. Muy buenas tardes.
Hello everybody, good afternoon, good evening ladies and gentlemen. It's great for me to share this afternoon, this evening with all of you, computing IT community interested in so interesting systems. My fourth consecutive year on Rooted.com. You are a remarkable group of panelists, you audience are great. We have the pleasure and the honor to be called on again to this special debate. On screen, you can see the relevant panelists taking part. Pepe de la Peña, magazine director, and myself. We will lead this debate. We ask you all guys, even though you are in a funny mood, you are on top of the world, but please collaborate. Give us your feedback. Say your say in the round of questions. Make this participative. Those of you who have seen on the Rooted corporate website, you can see the reason why we are conducting this debate. You can read it on screen. You can check it with what our panelists will say later on, because you can see on screen. We are reading from screen. We interpreters don't have this slide on our computer, so we're reading from the booth. Does anybody has to give you the hacker license? Wikipedia says things about it, but the Royal Academy, the Wikipedia says about this debate. There are two main things. You have to decide on if this is biased or not. Hacker. What is a hacker according to Wikipedia? These are two main definitions. You can check online in the Spanish version. We can infer from this that if this is, does it make sense? Does it make sense to have a hacker license or ID, identification? Does it make sense for all of you guys? This is the professional hacker carnet or ID. This is a joke. We've done it this morning on the design department. It's a blurred ID and identification issued as of today. This is a very strange name. The very first syllables of some of the participants and panelists, Dasokorle Tarasan, stands for the conglomerate number of participants of all of you participants. A while ago, some days ago, there is a kind of brutal thing. They boast that a certain collective or group of people are offering themselves as professional hackers credited for these purposes. What is a hacker? Let's make it interior. Let's make it. This is how you can find professional hackers for hire online. My goodness. Let's leave it this way. Don't put adjective on it. It's up to you to make a thought about what you can see on screen. Now let's move on to the next subject. Can you hear me? Let's direct this issue. Let's address this issue directly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Now you can hear me, you guys. Do you consider yourself to be a hacker? Yes and always. Yes and always. A whole consummate hacker. According to the definition of what hacker is, for me, yes, I'm a definite consummate Hacker. What's a hacker? Let's put it clear. Lateral thinking, a way of resolving problems which are not done in the traditional way. It does have anything to do with open source or ideology. A journalist can be a hacker. A doctor can be a hacker. A computer science person can be a hacker. Hacking, it's a divergent lateral way of thinking. Do you consider to be a hacker? Yes, of course. Yes, I do. I'm a hacker as well. More and more a PowerPoint hacker. The guy of the hackering PowerPoint, but of course, yes, I'm a hacker. And you? Okay, I'm half-half. I'm a half-half hacker. I'm a bit older to be a hacker now. Now, I manage a more idealistic, romantic concept of hacking, working on new technologies. When I started professionally, we thought that the scene went so quickly that so many hackers presenting at this venue give so much to the community. Hackers are giving their say and their contribution to the community. Hacking, being a hacker, is a way of living. It's our life. For me, it's like a mythology, myths. And of course, it has its ethics. So you define yourself as being a half hacker. No, I'm not a hacker. I'm doing business hacker. I'm aligning with my business, but I prefer being in the more business side of hacker. Did you ever been a hacker? In my beginnings, perhaps, but in a lower scale compared to all of you guys. Of course, I will take the romantic halo of being a hacker, which has to do a lot with a way of living, a philosophy of life. It's a personal challenge. It was a personal challenge back at that time, and it has to do with a big capacity as a consequence, and giving you the opportunity to be a genius from time to time. That's a hacker in my understanding. I coincides with Danny on this. You can be a partial job hacker, but when there are certain things from hackers which are not this good, derived from the philosophy, the commitment, because geniality cannot be forced or obliged. So I put it in a different way. The safety and security consultant is not a hacker. A hacker, when the moment there is money in between structures, when a hacker is a structure and modelized, is just not a hacker anymore. It's stopped being a hacker to turn out to be a security hacker. And what about yourself? Hacker, half hacker, no hacker, Mr. Jorge. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll stand up for the non-hacker people, even though I like meddle with everything and solve everything. I prefer to generate solutions, not to hack on other people's solutions. Thank you very much. I prefer generating new concepts. It's more fun, and in the very end, you will be the winner. Secondly, because I don't like labeling myself, because I'm not worthy of carrying this medal. I don't have this political vision or insight when it comes out to hacking. And if you are talking about poetry, don't count on me for that. And you are, by the way, a university teacher, am I correct? Do you find hackers among your students? Of course, they are. The problem is how my hacker students evolve. What's their evolution? When you put a seed in the ground, what is going on? The plant can germinate, but the plant is getting growing and growing more and more. Hacker, half hacker, less hacker, but hacker trainer. Mr. With your permission, this is a court, this is the tribunal, and of course I will address you in a very respectful way. I'm a nostalgic person. I have so much nostalgia about the historical halo of being a hacker. So in this regard, I understand that myself, I cannot self-design myself being a hacker. I cannot be this pedantic. It's a label. In the case of being a hacker, somebody has to impose you the label of being a hacker. It's a distinction that others have to give you. But regarding life philosophy as tackling, confronting problems, my problems are so different from all of you guys because my problems are legal problems. I'm very identified with the explanations given by Roman. Divergency, divergent thinking, tackling reality in a creative way. In this auditorium, I like tackling the juridical issues with the lateral insight, giving the established traditional road away. So I'm sorry for the poetry. If they give you a template or a squirt paper, please write on overleaf, write on the other side back. So you are not worthy of being called a hacker. I would like to. They should, guys, talk me like hacker. I'm very identified with the philosophy of being a hacker. Should you know many of the things I have done with my computer at my desk and at my office, I will be in trouble with you all of you guys. Oh, sometimes it can be an example. I realized that the procedure act computer software had trouble. If I left the computer application without turning off the computer, the date still the same as the day before. So if you forgot about presenting, delivering repeal before court, you stop it the very same day before. So it is. Who was the provider? It was not my problem. I forgot to shut down the computer, and my repeal documentation report was printed with the date before. My goodness. I'm a member of the Spanish Civil Guardian Corps. Should I have known this question, I would have stayed home. Because I'm coming from a place. Am I a hacker? I'm a police officer. This is too presumptuous. I don't know. I don't consider myself to be a hacker or be a nostalgic person or ideologist. You know that I'm a bit irreverent. I'm lucky enough to work on the Civil Guardian Spanish Corps Forces, and I can confront the problems in a very special way. I'm lucky to have a great team supporting me behind, and I want to give you my pinch of salt. And there, I only put my reason and my intelligence there. But I wouldn't consider myself to be a hacker. I don't see myself being a hacker. It's a system perturbing the system. I'm not an element perturbing the system. Mr. Julio, good afternoon. Good afternoon. This roundtable has been very unanimous. Everything depends on so many things. If in my professional life I have to do certain things, I'm not a hacker. What about my personal life? I try to generate the problems that Jorge is incapable of generating, and further on I discuss with him. I do respect the hacker culture, by the way. Hacker culture has helped us a lot to evolve in many industries and sectors in a very distinctive and fresh way. But I cannot consider myself being a hacker because I started being a hacker when I started my university course. So the guy on the right, if I confess myself being a hacker, I would be a criminal. I'm not professionally a hacker, and personally, I'm not a hacker either. Of course, you are kindly invited to ask your question. You can provoke and trigger captious and tricky questions over us.
Este artefacto, alguien está interviniendo, ya sé. Venga, una pregunta rápida.
Quick questions. Are there sloppy hackers? Do we need some hackers due to the current problems? This can be vehicle, lead. How can the talent of a hacker be measured? Should we start again? Julio, so he said a big container of wine in a very sloppy, non-quality, sloppy. There is the bad usage of the term hacker. There is in the 99% of the uses, hacker is used in the wrong way. They link hacker to be a non-quality job, a sloppy job, which is not correct. But are hackers look for under certain parameters? Yes. Categorically speaking, hackers, good quality hackers are look for, and big companies need good hackers and efficient hackers. Every service is it costs 450 euros. The non-qualitative or sloppy hackers market is very, very big. Oh, they look for shortcuts. The classical example. Okay, I'm looking for a hacker that allows me to access somebody's email account, which is to commit a crime, by the way. People like this, of course, there are. I'm not moving within these spheres where many people boast about, okay, I know a hacker that can help me out to break into somebody's email accounts. This is our non-qualitative, sloppy hackers, of course, they are. A sloppy hacker in two senses. In the bad usage of the term hacker, I'm saying this from a journalistic viewpoint, hacker has turned into being the dog who ate my homework. I get fab to erectile penis member. Oh, it's on the picture. So this is done by a hacker. Somebody deleted a very important document. It's done by a hacker. Sociological research center statistics are leaked out, and the URL change has been done by a hacker. So there is a sloppy usage of the term hacker, depending on the in-depth analysis of hacker. When I started reading this, I call it strictest. We got the guy buying or hiring in this markers underneath the bot, butterfly attacking systems tool is not a hacker. Is a guy who bought a weapon for illicit usage, but this person is not a hacker who has invented or made up something. This person didn't have a diversion or parallel or creative way. They only wanted to find somebody to hack a credit card to the thing. So in these two senses, there is a lot of sloppiness about the term hacker. Of course, if you look for talent, you will always find it for those who appreciate it. So in the private companies which work with efficiency criteria, they look for it. In the public administrations, we are subjected to the principle of merit and capacity. Only the good ones will get through it. In my very case, in the career I'm a member of, there is a public servant examination thing where I need to learn about 5,000 legal texts. It's like learning the telephone guide. No, I need to understand it. Does this foment and promote the reasoning, the creative thinking of those? If you don't have good thinking and lateral thinking from birth, you won't get it. You will not get it. I have to say that very, very good, to be honest, very good hackers, there are not so many. Sloppy hackers, there are a lot. So I don't think we're going to find anything new there. I would say that until now, they have not been looked for. I would suspect to say that good hackers are going to be looked for in the next coming years. Now in the companies, there are some hackers trying to make their way through the big companies, but these young hackers targeting big companies will end up being business people at this company. Of course, we need good hackers for defense and stand up for our rights, for our needs. But if you want to attack somebody, you need to be a genius, or at least to have a certain degree of geniality. Um, I don't think anybody's trying now to request somebody's hackers services to do harm to somebody. There will be in the coming future selection mechanisms to detect who is a good hacker, an efficient hacker that can get geniality programs, and in the time being, we will be able to separate the good ones and the bad ones. From a business viewpoint, there are sloppy hackers who generated and trigger headache or hangover thing because they didn't meet the client's requirements, because these hackers or these sloppy hackers sold two good expectations which were not true. Now there is a big demand compared to the offer, so specialization is needed. So true, real, efficient hackers will end up working for defense, not only for attacking. Depending on the level, we need to evolve on the security consultants. It's very well paid. With all my respect, real hackers, within a company structure, you have it very badly. It's difficult to conciliate with the human resources department. You hackers, you have it difficult if you are wearing a tie and a suit. Even though you, no less, wearing a suit and a tie, you will earn much more money. There will be a natural selection over the coming years. There will be more people who have studied in legal way, even though they are not geniuses. They will help supporting and protecting the companies which end up paying the mortgage, the mortgage for yourself. In the light of what my companions said, there are many sloppy people, sloppy hackers outside in this world. We all know some hackers who don't deserve even this name. In the professional world, I believe, in our particular case, from my viewpoint, I set up my own company. I'm looking for people who, they have this touch of geniality, they express themselves, they have creativity in their souls. They can even debate against yourself. They can provoke good thinking. This has much more to do with philosophy. In Spain, people say foreign people say, you Spaniards, you have a very powerful community of hackers in Spain. You are brilliant in Spain. And it's clear for us that the working together is overwhelming. It's got over the real talent. So we need to team up with each other, create teams, and you need to be tenacious as a hacker as well. Ramon may kill me, but formerly, when we hackers were underground, we created infraground hacking groups, and back in time, underground hackers, when this thing started, we were fighting among each other, and we destroyed to construct. Back at that time. I'm not in favor of the term sloppy hacker. I would distinguish there are hackers who like the sloppiness, bad things. There are also sloppy consultants and sloppy companies. In my understanding, a person who considers to be a hacker, this person would be evaluated based upon their competencies, experiences, quietness, interests, and training. Somebody meeting the position Roman said before about having the capacity of lateral thinking. In my understanding, I can consider it to be a hacker, and I will evaluate his experience on this subject. What is going on now? As of today, there are many companies offering certain security services of hackers, which end up being sloppy consultants.
Yo creo que no hay nadie de garrafón, es decir.
I don't think there is anybody here who can be called sloppy hackers. Except for specific silly people or unwilling people. 90% of hackers are good at certain things. There are decent people with their own objectives, with their own vital objectives, and that the problem derives from leadership. Being a leader, or the leader who position a hacker in a working place which is not for that hacker, that leader is the wrong person with this mindset. This mindset, okay, but what is human resources? What's going on? Human resources should apply real good filters to leak through the right hackers. What is the talent of my hackers? Where can I fit and put my hacker in? You cannot do LOPDs, but I can program the Windows kernel to capture low-level cards or wallets. This guy can be good for this, but he's not the right person for another field, but he's right for another field. If you are doing LOPDs, so Jorge and Cersa will give in some networks whenever they find distracting things in their networks. It's not about sloppiness. The responsibility lies on the leader, the manager of a company. I'm talking about the board of directors, I'm talking about the ombudsman, or I'm talking about the government. All these people leading, the leaders are responsible for what the hackers done wrongly in their companies. What do we try to stand up for the defense of my country? Should I hire security consultants, sloppy consultants, or should we hire real people good at creating cyber ammunition? You all guys are the cyber weapons, programming cyber ammunitions. Who is the Ministry of Interior, or the Defense Ministry, or the armies, the civil guards, who are going to be hired to create cyber ammunition? Sloppy companies who are going to be paid 60 million euros, or people really experienced to create a very well-functioning and proper and efficient cyber ammunition? The problem lies on the ammunition, not in the capacity of the hacker.
¿Cómo se puede saber?
Now, how can we know, how can we measure whether we need and want to make the talent acquisition systematic? And perhaps, well, if the person does not meet the requirements, this person could not work for the Ministry of Defense. What are the virtues? What are the capacity? Are you aware of the major bricks, the type indicator, which is a psychometric test that help us measure non-cognitive capacities, but behavioral attitudes? I am an NTP person, meaning that I'm a person who has a number of abilities and capacities. So this is a good way of measuring me and knowing the position that you want to give me. If I am intuitive, an emotional thinker, and with lateral thinking abilities and with an entrepreneurship profile, do not give me LOPDs to make. How can we we measure that talent? Well, in the case of hackers, well, you measure that by outcomes, by results. How do you do that? Well, with a test. Test this person. Some of my colleagues know that I have a reputation because I had arguments with people from the Capital Resource Department because the person was highly qualified, and they sent it to work with me, and I said, I just don't want this person to work for me. He got blocked, and I said, because he just blocked me for a notepad. So metrics are okay for everything that falls within non-Gauss campaign, but we really have to check out what happens on the extreme. How do you measure the talents, of special forces by results? If you can put up with the training and you survive, you're okay, and if not, you're out. You're either in or out. Right, I do agree with what Roman has just said. I think that a good technical test could be a good indicator to assess the level of knowledge of a hacker. However, we should not forget either that the work that many times we perform is not something that you can measure through a test. Sometimes we need to go beyond that, and we need, well, having a test telling us whether we are apt or not, or right or not to perform a job, that's complicated. I think that those tests, if any, should be supported by the career of that person, publications, research carried out by that person, but I shouldn't focus necessarily on a test result. I quite agree with what you said, but in my case, I always try to find someone who is better than me. How do I know? Well, it is very easy to know better than me, but other than that, well, I look for people with passion and motivation. I already know whether a person is right for the job or not. Of course, I understand that, well, then we have to look at whether this person fits within your group of hacker friends, okay? And, well, some people have a star, and if they do not have a star to them, okay, they have very willing, and they have lots of willpower. So work is more important than talent. Okay, sometimes you see that light on people's face. What is good is just to have good raw materials. Then you just have to give some shape to it, and that will be it. Right, as other panelists mentioned, it's a question of attitude. It's about assessing the capacity or the learning capacity of a person, because depending on the stage of that the person is, we will have, well, that person may have more or less experience, but if that person has the right attitude, if that person is passionate for what he does, and that person is ready and willing to learn, well, recently, we in companies, that's what we have been looking for. Well, so there are 1,200 people in here. Do you think that, well, okay, 200,000 people. Okay, do you think that 200,000 people cover or meet the current needs of companies? I don't think so. And you agree with me. Actually, there aren't enough people. We don't have enough people. So, but it is not a question of whether they are cheap or expensive, but actually, if companies demand as much as they should demand experts, well, I'm sure will be a shortage of 50,000 people, and actually we are hiring people who do not have any qualification, people who like to disassemble their machines, they do programming, they just build an OS alone. So, okay, let him work for us, we will give him a right training, we will give him the right orientation. So hackers are just raw diamonds. So to me, it's a question about attitudes and passion, okay? So, and time. I also would like to point out something. Well, everything that has been said here is about the actual individual, but actually hacking becomes more collaborative and collective activity. If this is not like that yet. It will be like that in the future. So there is one. This is just one more profession. I need to have procedures to assess hackers, to make them redundant, to assess them. So hackers are no different from any other specialized job. So if it doesn't exist, we will have to invent it. And then with regard to that raw diamond, that individual hacker, well, we should remember that a person does not save or does not move mountains, not even Mahoma. So this is a high risk. If you put all your eggs in the same basket, you are just lost. Even if you had the god of all the hackers in the world, will you hire him? I will not. So recognizing talent, oh, that's very difficult. That's very challenging. Okay, I come from a body of foreign force whose access test was defined by the person above me. Okay, well, Luis Navaja Ramo, who was the head of the Supreme Court, he defined me in my test says as well as trying to bring down a wall with your head. Well, you may achieve it, you may get it in the end, but no one can guarantee the condition of your head. So the type of talent that we are discussing here, I recognize it when I see it, but I don't know how to recruit it. I give up. I don't have that answer. Well, I share what Jorge has just said. You can detect it. It is difficult indeed. Because, well, we are used to measuring, people's capacity through merits and qualifications and training courses, etc. This is all well said, and it's good because it means that the person has gone through training, has shown competencies and abilities. But to my mind, that is not talent. Talent is not about having 7 master's courses or 4 university degrees. Talent, either you have it or not. So the point is finding it, and then you, as a person trying to recruit someone, you really need to know what you want. Do you want someone to develop web applications for you, or for auditing, or for coding, or someone working on Wi-Fi technology? Once you know what you want, then you assess the knowledge that the person should have, just to rule out those who will not be up to the standard or those that will require too much training. So we carry out interviews, but they are not knowledge interview about codes or anything, but we just ask the person or wait for the person to react. We give them situations, and then we see how they react. Sometimes we get it wrong, but sometimes we get it right. In my unit, there is lots of talents. We have lots of talents. And when they joined the unit, well, we went very hopeful about them and say, oh, yeah, well, he's a bit shy, etc. But then one day, later on, they boomed. And as Jose says, we prioritize a group over the individual. If we have an individual genius, the best genius in the world, I don't want him. If he doesn't know how to work in group, in a team, to adapt to the others, I don't want him to work for me. So he cannot be part of a group in a unit. And as Jorge said, well, we should never forget that it is being good or being a genius or being wonderful or great is not enough. You need also to know how to work in a team, how to collaborate. Yes, we have people who have great talents, but they don't know how to work in a team. Considering the challenges ahead of us, the future ahead of us, if you don't know how to work in a team, you will not be good as you work. And so, as I say, well, this has nothing to do with your career, academic qualifications. It's just a question of attitudes and predisposition to life and to situations that will come to you. Well, actually, not much left to say. But drawing on what has been said here, I have a good friend from GO Special Forces who says, no, we are not supermen. We work in groups of 4. So you are either part of a team or your genius, whatever it is not good enough. We do not have a lab. The lab that we have is made up by a group of people who work as a single person. And also something that we notice and take very much care of is communication skills. Doesn't really matter whether you do something like great and then you don't know how to communicate that, so kind of numbing. So it's a question of communicating yourself and knowing what you have to say in a clear and understandable manner. So one of the tests that I give to a person who I interview, I say, okay, rephrase this sentence, okay, make it for me in a simple manner, explain it to me. So we very much foster communication skills and also teamwork. And then, well, with technicalities and technical skills, we also take that into account, but communication is also very important.
Te devuelvo la pregunta.
Okay, I give the question back to you. How do you assess the assessors, those who will assess whether the hacker is competent enough, and where did you get the metrics that authorize them, okay, for them to decide whether I am right hacker, a good hacker or not? That's very interesting. I think Andres should answer that. I don't know whether I am the rightest person to answer that, because I share that concern as well. But I would like to take this opportunity now to tell you where we are heading. The new privacy law from the year 2014. Well, they said that those of us working in IT are kind of like security guards. So, comparing the requirements and the checks that we have to go through every year in order to confirm our job as security analysts, this is a huge mistake. Yes, what you're saying is very, very interesting. Do you know in what stage that privacy law is in? Do you know at what stage it is? Is it in? Well, the law exists already. It is in force. So they are developing a set of regulation is being developed. They will regulate the professional practices in terms of security. And actually, the evilness of the name of this panel is that if the drafts on the table right now go ahead, it will be the Ministry for Interior, the one issuing hackers ID cards. I don't know whether university will be involved in the assessment of hackers in terms of, well, I think that private security will not do any kind of assessments. But by the way, does the audience have any questions?
Pues me acerco yo, espérame un segundito. ¿Dónde estás?
Buenas tardes. Bueno, más que pregunta.
This is much more of a question. I would like to comment on the fact that at universities, for instance, I'm now finishing my degree at university. The training you are given at university as a computer person is a general training I'm being given now. To be able to do whatever things you can do. But at university, there is not a total specialization about, let's focus on computing security.
Bueno,
You finish your degree and you may be very interested in reading many things. You may have had a loose subject matter or subject, but there is not a real guideline at universities to train you as being a good hacker. Let's put it into brackets.
Dale, dale. Ya está. Ahí.
Pues como no le deis, se me oye, vale. Bien,
Habla
ahora-
más alto para que se te...
Sí, sí.
Please, speak out with character and speak out and speak loud down.
Vamos a ver, por alusión a universidad.
Regarding the universities, you're totally right, man. I may not be updated, but the real fact is that trainings and degrees in computer science are generalists. You try to give them as many minimal materials for the student to get a wide spectrum as drugs. But you will be very impossible to define how you will end up being. You may set up ingenious telephone devices for telephone company. You will end up being somebody, the security guy in the company. For you to be a good hacker, besides all the glorious things you mentioned, we need to know a lot about operating systems, networks, many things. The future security consultant. Of course, you also need a general base in computing. Should I bet you for you? Should I wager on you? You first need to be a physician over 6 years. Then you have to specialize on geriatry, on forensic pathology. This is not an activity per se. This is a specialization. Being a hacker is a specialization. Can we measure and evaluate a hacker? Of course, as any other activity. When you are born like a green cap soldier, those who survive the big training in the field go to Iraq to fight against ISIS. You know what this guy is going to do in Iran as a fighter. What is the value of a soldier? You know definitely what the soldier will do. If a diva is sent to the battlefield, this will end up very badly. So in security, you need training, structure, of course. Would you like networks much more? So go to operating systems. If you like operating systems, go more for database. So you have to tackle all the main basis areas, and then you move on to be a specialized hacker. A real romantic hacker cannot turn out into being a real good profession and very well paid profession. With all my respect for the university, Rami, and all of you university teachers and professors, I have to say that you will not learn anything at the university to be a hacker. At the most, you will learn how to manage a group of hackers, the generalistic practice of computing, but the road to learning to do reverse exploiting malware analysis, you will not learn this at university. I believe you when you say there must be a way to it, but it's not through the educational system now in force in Spain. This road, this way is incorrect to real train and create people with the right mindset to be a hacker. My goodness, I didn't say that there is now we have a generalistic training period. All of you who are older than me and being of course hackers, COBOL, the program COBOL, did you learn management computer science? This has always been the same. Of course, you need the common baseline, the common foundations. So being a hacker or a security consultant is like the common, the apex. You need to learn about operating systems, developments, and you then varnished and polished everything to tie things up properly in the foundations. So you have to pay for your masters, the one who did Cisco, the one after having a perfect foundation and base, and you can be even better than at universities. But ethics, who teach ethics, the ethical approach to these people, who avoid these hackers at university to go with the crooked guys to make a lot of money and to prevent crime. So we need to teach good habits and ethics to these hackers, students at university. I can say my mom, my dad. It seems like a soap opera debate on a tabloid TV.
No, pero el tema es ese, que yo creo que también hablamos mucho conocimiento técnico, pero...
The thing is, okay, so much technological knowledge, but we need to teach values to the students. As your father and your mother teach you values and principles, they have to teach at university. If you commit this bad action, that's a crime, period.
Volviendo un poco al hecho de cómo se va.
Coming back to the fact of how a hacker is trained, did you still see a 50H sportman running Iron Man? So some do so out of pleasure, because physically speaking, your body gets tired from certain age and time, so you cannot compete for being a competition athlete. The same applies to hacking. Now I am 25 years old, so I'm not seeing myself experiencing or doing 3 days in a row without going to sleep, because I have my daughter, I have a wife, so I have to pay attention to my loved ones, those type of things. Unfortunately, learning of being a hacker, some of you on this round table was in his satellite. Being a hacker, learning how to be a hacker, is stopped at certain moment in time. When you are 40 years old, you are not reversing backs. If you are doing so, you are a crazy man, by the way. So there is a limit point of age for all of you guys. If you are going to spend 7-10 years at college, at university, training, you have a big issue besides from the ethical issue. There are plumbers who cannot be crazy and kill their wives and end up selling express to the bad crooked people. Let's see. Roman has confessed that you cannot be a hacker when you turn out 22 years old. So let's be a hacker before. So let's create children's or grassroots movement when you are 12 years. You are 12 years old and teach them how to be a hacker before they go to the college. That's your point, Roman.
Con eso yo no resuelvo los problemas.
With this approach, I cannot solve the problems. I can be a flamenco dancing person of hacking, and all the actions which match for us requires much more than one single individual. I don't agree with the fact that when you are 22 years old, you can only be a business person. So what can we do? When you are still and you are 22 years old, you are either a general or you're dead. There may be peculiarities in being a leader or in security in this approach, but of course, don't think there is nothing transcendental about being a hacker. It's like artistic gymnasium. This is much more difficult than being a hacker. I would like to give you my particular insight on being a hacker at the university. There is a big mistake in the training curricula, which is the individual is not allowed freedom. You need to follow certain patterns and templates about classes, lessons, about what you can do or don't. So when you end up and finish a big career after so many university years, all the things which do not appear on a book, you don't know what is going on here because you didn't have time for that. So this is a big mistake. The fact we don't have enough freedom and liberty to investigate other things when you are at university studying your degree. it's preferable to spend one more year in finishing your degree. I think this is politically incorrect, but you make the most of this remaining more year to make the most of the new knowledge. Universities or any educational system only fixes the minimums of what you have to learn. Nobody prevents you from being a genius. So you need a threshold. I disagree with you. Of course, you have freedom. Freedom is to study at home.
Las noches con el perolo, estudiar. No, me vais a permitir porque estos señores están muy callados, no puede ser.
These guys over here are very, very silent, and you declare not being a hacker. So, over here, lateral thinking is the thing, is what matters. Is it, so, what can we do with lateral thinking? Do you think who is the person who has to have the more copies of lateral thinking, a hacker or a consultant? Who do you think has much more copies of lateral thinking? A law professional, for instance, a prosecutor or a hacker? Roman, how sad that somebody who turned out 59 years old, who does so marvelous reversing at night. This guy would be a great guy that could confront Cabal. Regarding vertical thinking, some clients have to confront lateral thinking. I correct myself. Lateral thinking, of course, is possible to apply on it. A hacker, when the divine inspiration comes to me, please, it has to smell like sweat. Being a hacker implies devoting so many hours consistency to break the rules. Lateral thinking, of course, is possible after 10, 12, 13 years before a website, or there may be an idyllic website. Nobody knows about his mistakes. So, lateral thinking, now I come out with the fact of coming over the back door because the TCP can be open. So this can be at the same time, all together.
Well, in terms of labeling, okay, well, whether we are police people, hackers, or public prosecutors, we are people. So behind the profession, you have a person. So therefore, this is something, well, personal, so to speak, or, well, when you go and tell me, well, you tell me this and that. Well, I try to surround myself with people who are better than me. If a person knows less than I know, that's not good for me because he makes no contribution. Well, the thing is that this person will not have a better solution than me. So whenever I cannot see anything or whenever I'm blocked, I need someone to tell me or to give me something that I cannot, well, come to. So we are not talking about the inspiration in the afternoon. I was bored and then I hit my head and then I did all that. No, hours, years of work, chasing, going after things, researching and trying things. Well, all the legal issues that Jorge mentioned to you today and last year, well, we managed to take people to court. And because of all the work that we did, it is not but because that we got inspiration one day. No, well, sometimes, you're even on your holidays and you continue to think about what we could do. Then sometimes I call Jorge in the evening and I say, what do you think if we do this and that? We go around it. So it's not a question of being a civil guard, a public prosecutor, or a hacker. If you have that mindset, you have that mindset. And then you try to promote it. And as I say, I surround by people who are better than me. If you are surrounded by good people, you will improve, you will learn. If you are just surrounded by standard people. You will be the best of them all, but you will be stagnant all your life because you will not get other people's contribution. Well, if you want to learn about security, come to places such as this one, to other conferences, surround yourself with people who know more than you, who can contribute to you, and that's the way to learn and to know more. Well, I'm the captain, I am the boss, I'm the best, I'm the most handsome. I could do that. I could go there, but I decided not to do it. Well, if I have a problem and the people around me are not contributing, no, thank you. Okay, I'd rather save that jobs on those wages. So it's a question of attitude, attitude in life, and attitude with regard to problems. So when you have a problem, what do you do? Do you go to the manual? You go to the university book? Well, we are trialing and trialing, trial and error, and well, that's the way man has evolved in history, and we continue to do so. And that is not related whatsoever to being public prosecutor, judge, consultant, hacker, you name it. Well, I would like to take this opportunity because I know that this is being recorded. And because it's being recorded, I know this will be a wonderful headline. I would say hacking is an attitude. Well, hacking could be an attitude when it comes to gaining access to an IT system without the administrator's authorization, because you handle the tools, because you have command over them, because you have learned the basics of your profession, so that you allow the creative side of your brain to support itself on that creativity. That is exactly the same that when you go to the law school. You are given the basis. A graduate with the best qualification ever, if you put him in court, he will fail, but not because he is not ready. Yes, well, he's ready, he's got the qualification, but the creative part of his brain is not activated enough. And well, let me share a good example with you. Well, some lawyers see some cases and they say, oh my God, how can I defend that? There are people who are so guilty, they have left so many evidence behind them that it's just impossible to defend them. And I remember I was sometimes in courts and I was on the other bench and I could see, sometimes I wanted to applaud the defendant, the defense, because, the person received such a good defense. So, for instance, I don't know, alcohol abuse, the person who was drunk, who was breathalyzed and then reached the maximum, who insulted the policeman. Frodo, why does your sword shine? Okay, and that lawyer that comes to you and they say, you're honorable, the breathalyzing test cannot be included in the proceedings. And I say, excuse me? So the test of the validation test of the breathalyzer has not been performed this year. This is not valid. This is not a valid evidence. And they say, oh my God, yes, he is right. And then you go and say, okay, let us now recur to symptoms. And then he goes and says, the defendant is a French citizen. He came to Spain. He drank as much as he could. And then the police took a declaration in Spanish. He didn't have a translator at his disposal. He didn't know what he was saying. He was not understood because he was speaking in a different language. So therefore, the arguments or the case of the police is not valid because of that. The person was very much drunk, but still he's got options. And then, well, this is not perhaps the right example, because often these cases of drunkenness is very much typified, and there aren't very much differences, okay? So, well, people remember the symptoms very well, and everything is very clear in these cases. But anyway, as I say, often these cases are often agreed out of court or sometimes in court. And yes, well, often the person is not taken to court, okay? But still, in some occasions, in some situations, you are surprised, you are impressed. So, me, to get better at what I do, I try to do reversing. I try to place myself in these situations and try to find out or to anticipate what they will do next, what will be their way out. And I don't always get it right. I don't always get it right. If I had all the solutions and all the answers, I would be in the private sector making lots and lots of money. But it's a good exercise, to put yourself in the shoes of other person. Lateral thinking is there in the law, in many other fields. I guess that, well, there are plumbers who are also creative, but well, in these two fields, and where I know very well, I can tell you that yes, well, there is lateral thinking in all that as well. Okay, in order to speed up the debate, and then, well, just to remove some of the fallacies that you are saying, I take for granted effort. So we all make an effort. I'm not saying that I sit down and then out of a sudden 7 exploits come to mind. I will have to work on that, but university will not take you to do that through the learning mechanisms. My question is, who will be authorized according to the reform of the criminal code that Jorge hasn't read yet? Who is authorized to decide that I am an expert in security, that I should be accredited, that I should earn that ID card, and that I will not be making any offenses if I act as such? If you have an mmap in your computer, who could decide whether you are authorized to have it or not? So it's not only that, but imagine a situation where the development and holding and using IT tools is unlawful because you are not accredited for that. So this accreditation is new. This is a result of the new norms. Imagine that you have to work for an accredited IT security company, and to work as a freelancer or for one of these companies, you are asked to meet a number of requirements that are set by the companies who work with state property. So I don't know, that you have to check in and out when you go to work. So we are walking towards a situation which looks like a royal decree. So it seems that it will be approved through the back door soon. It wants to legalize our work, but it will put a brake on everything that we do, and it will kill innovation. Well, very quickly, I said that many times before, if that is approved as it is, I tell you officially that for RootedCon this is a declaration of war, and we will act accordingly. Okay, this is not a threat, but a promise. Okay, 2 questions. Well, yes, I will be brief. Okay. So I disagree with Roman with something that he said. But this is not an upfront attack to RootedCon or to the community. I said that many times, I repeat it. So the problem is that lawmakers don't know what they are writing about. They know nothing. So do not take it as an attack. It is like, oh, they come after us. No, 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 no. Legislators have no clue. They said, okay, this is private security. IT security is private security.
Por favor, pedid los micrófonos, ¿vale?
Yeah, the thing is that, yes, legislators should write the law, but they should take advice from those who know more than them. Okay, so they should work with a person representing the community. Well, they should have an advisor, a counselor, someone helping them out in that drafting or in that wording. Yes, a representative of the community. So I will use the same example as always. So do you know where Parrot doctrine comes from? Do you know why this was set up? Because there are associations of victims of terrorism who are all the time lobbying. Do you have that strength? No, you don't have it because you are not members of any association. Well, who said that? Well, yes, we may have an association now. Yes, I would like to tell you about the ANSI association. Okay, sorry. So give me a minute. Well, this is not an upfront attack. This is not directed against you. Just tell me that legislators don't know what they are writing about. And then who will be issuing those certificates? Well, the administration. The administration, well, that is in charge of issuing certifications, professional certifications. I mentioned that before. Well, if you really want to work as a barman, you really need to know how to hold the tray, etc. But you really need to have a certificate for handling food. Well, if you cook for your friends at home, it's okay. But if you want to work at the hostel in the catering industry, well, you just need your certificate for that. Well, considering what is happening now, what they are talking about, the certificate, everything looks like in the future, well, you will have to get a certification for handling systems so that you have good enough certification. This title, this is a certificate that will be granted, issued by government, whether it is regional or national. And as I say, if you're working with food and drink, okay, you just need that certificate to handle food. Same as, well, the person with that car, even if it has the ID, can manipulate the system, steal the system. Okay, same as the person who has the certificate to handle food could also poison the food. So I'm not talking about against you, well, but yes, the Spanish legislation and European legislation is asking for the need, is demanding the need to regulate that. And I think that will be much better for you. It's much better for you that that is regulated. Well, is it better not to have poor regulation than having good regulation? It's good to have good regulation, and then regulation made up by people who know what they do. So make yourselves heard. So it is great to listen to a person from the law enforcement agency, a person who knows what he is saying, an expert in the field. So there are two questions. Okay, so, okay, questions.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jose Manuel Vera from World Magazine. I would like to bear in mind that when I'm listening to you, I'm not that old. I'm only 42 years old. I'm remembering the old journalists who started being journalists when no degree on journalism existed. Year 1977. Then the journalism degrees. Oh, people say, okay, being a journalist is being in the cafeteria. You have so much time to be trained at home and to spend it with friends. Everything has been discussed and applied to all the university degrees. Now we're at a moment where people train themselves on their own, at their risk. So let's check out what is going on with other degrees, university degrees. This is my view, my insight. I will be more concrete. Let's imagine that this chaos is going to be regulated. Let's imagine we got a hacker ID. What 5 questions should we be asked for 2016 year, everybody having a hacker ID? There will be a university degree or certification for somebody to be a hacker would be applicable to all people in front of the operating system. Let's imagine, okay, I got my hacker degree university. So what would be allowed to be done, prohibitions and authorizations? Can I hire somebody without a hacker ID into the security environment? How do you say it? What would the purposes of the hacker ID be? Very direct, very straight to the point. Thank you. Regarding journalism, precious and beautiful thing. What about bloggers? But bloggers, somebody writing a blog, what are they doing? Because you journalists get twisted when somebody say, okay, I got a journalism blog. But why do we set up this event? It's the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right for every human being. I can exert my right to communicate and to express my news on my blog without being a journalist. So I have the right to express, okay, I am a hacker without a certification issued by the administration. So a situation of legalization or non-authentication or legalization situation in open source projects. Okay, let me think. I'm thinking of the sites on phone having children's pornography. Should I have a certification from the administration protecting myself against all possible evils? If I want to develop any kind of weapon and I want to load it on YouHub, should I have to pay some fee for an open source project delivered to the community and all of a sudden manufactured, implemented without paying anything? There is a conceptual problem. We're talking about fundamental rights. This is a fundamental right to the freedom of speech, freedom of creation. You have to be a painter, an artist, to be registered in any organization. Do you see painters, professional artists register for any kind of specific registry? The question is to be duly authorized. This applies to accessing systems, access to systems. No, this is not... Okay, make it clear. We all have read the same legal text, and we can read clarification. People having weapons in possessions. This didn't work in the United States. Shall we sneak in the Spanish legal area? I didn't read the word exclusively. They only mention weapons facilitated. The criminal code is not the right norm to implement the accreditation of a professional category. The criminal law is like a baseball bat. It doesn't allow to paint it. The criminal law serves to hit, to give hits. Somebody mistaken as a video game thing. The criminal law is the last resort. I didn't read the legal text, but I know where they are shooting for. We are talking about crimes typified in the crimes against the intimacy in the 197 article. The possession of emails since 2010, the intrusion in alien computer systems. These conducts and behaviors are against the law. The possession of utils means to forward or advance the protection barriers, not only the one coming into computing system, but also the one having the right means and media to attack and to get into a computing system. So you all guys should say yourself, so be a lobbyist. What you have to do, for instance, fortune currencies, the possession of a printing machine for creating currency is a crime, even though you didn't print out any single bill. Developing war weapons, even though to be stored as the houseware, is a crime. So there are other crimes where the legislator advance the protection barriers because this is such a tremendous dangerous conduct that we need to preview this in advance. Since 1995, the Article 2050.2, the possession of right software to commit computing frauds, the Zeus program I mentioned before. So now there is a possibility in the new article for those people possessing these programs, they are establishing a cause of justification in spite of having this considered to be an index or indicia of something. There are some professionals who had been authorized to have it. The optical, the insight, the perspective is totally different. Perhaps the legislator didn't express it correctly. Why did they write norms? Because they are the legislator, they are the legislative power. People voted for them. On certain occasion, in a debate with MPs in the Juridical Institute about how they were regulating the prosecutor office, because we are the legislative power and have to stop talking. This is unbeatable. They are MPs from the legislative power. So let's give them a voice, a unanimous voice, very sounding voice about, okay, you are not doing things this way. Technically speaking, you are doing things wrongly. No, things are not like this. Technically speaking, you are making a law which is not correct, because they don't have the divine inspiration, they don't have infused science, they have their own chains of creating laws in the parliament. These are a kind of code makers, and we need to give them a different counter opinion for them to see the reality the way it is. The draft text is like this. There is still some time processing this as a bill at the parliament, and this article at the very end will be successful. The possession of weapons only serving to accessing a computing system without authorization is still to see if this is feasible, not double weapons, but in principle, this thing seems to have certain kind of regulation. Roma, the logo of this RootedPANEL is a lock. And of course, the locksmith have a register, because a locksmith has to be registered, because otherwise everybody should be locking out and in the doors. So let's know who have the expertise, the know-how about discarding. Perhaps the draft text is not the right, but let's help the MPs about improving this legal text. Let's help them out in the situation. Please, show me in the draft text where they state solely and exclusively, I will cut down on my level of wrath, because I cannot read solely and exclusively. Let's be more specific. A painter is specialized in modernist expressionisms. I've just made up. This painter stands up and painted pastel color things. He paints a girl with 80 years old man. Why is not this painter registered in a specific list? This is a more serious thing. One thing is getting trade union ID certifying you have the minimum capabilities different from a patent of course, so a total authorization for doing everything. This makes you not legal if you don't meet certain requirements. So the defect is based upon two stages. I will incarnate an ID for those who are not legalized, and then not having this ID, you are illegal. This is not very smart, by the way. This is not very smart because automatically this means, thank you. This means, let me finish. I'm in front of the camera. Is not smart at all because you are submerged. You're synced into automatically of the not committing crimes. So this parallelism, you may like it. It's a very serious thing. Sincerely speaking, I'm not a hacker. Let's get on foot. You should be an efficient lobby, which against this government we want to create the peace of 2015. They want to get a badge on the flip of their suit, as somebody did with the Jews in Warsaw and in Wien. So he mentioned the Nazis, the Jews in Wien. I would like to comment that I'm not against having a registry of companies devoted to security, competent security. It would be positive. The new reform of this law is going through a different way. The new reform has been created due to a pressure lobby, which is the security industry, which wants to have exclusive competencies to conduct the tax done as of today by the people working as hackers in our industry. If you are not a company duly credited with your security director position, we're not talking about any kind of companies. You will have to have the figure of the security director doing a specific security training, paying a lot of money for examinations. They are going to impose 600,000 euros fines if you are not the right credited security company with the right staff. Just a comment. Some of you around this table, did you get through the epoch of the hotlines? Please, Cesar, did you know the hotlines? Hotline, do you know what a hotline was? Hotline networks were sites very tied out to the Mac world. Well, the pirate malware was shared. It was getting rotten, and it was like the mob shelter. You set up a new hotline with a lot of pirate ware, but it's not that bad as hitting somebody in the street. What happened with this? This was originated as to exchange unprotected content, and that being a shelter for pedophiles, and narco traffickers. The moment you step up with this new law, automatically we will go back to that point in the past. Automatically, we will be criminalized by default, and we will have to mix up and merge with people criminal, and we didn't do anything wrong by publishing somebody scanning ports. We need to change this from scratch in the roots. Otherwise, we will go back to the early 90s, when some of us had arguments against the civil guards, and we were in constant tensions. We have so much collaboration now. Don't screw up this collaboration. It took us so much effort.
Hello. Very likely all of us in here would agree that hackers are good attackers. My question is, or my doubt is, are they good defenders as well? I grew up, well, opposite my home there was a demolition company. And when I was small, I met a person who was very good at demolishing buildings. He didn't even need the drawings of the building just to set the right load, to do the right demolition. So I think at that time, well, if the building or hackers in the building sector existed, he was just the best hacker. However, I would not have asked that people, I would not have asked them to build my home. Question now. Good attackers are also good defenders? My experience is that the better the attacker you are, the weaker the defense you are. So the ID that you will be issuing, well, the first you showed us a green one. Do you think that we also need a red ID? Would you have Cristiano Ronaldo playing in Sergio Ramos' position? Who'd like to answer? Well, first of all, I have to apologize. My plane is leaving. Okay, my flight is leaving. Okay, sorry for that. Big applause for him.
¿También te vas? No, ¿vuelves ahora? Vale. Muy bien. Bueno, mientras que van a despedir a Jorge, creo que Julio quería contestar a la pregunta de...
All right, I will see Jorge to the door. But in the meantime, yes, Jorge was answering. Well, I just deep dive into the swimming pool. According to my experience, the better the attacker, the worse the defender. It was a great attacker, a poor defender. So the capacities of a person who defends a system are not the same that those of the attacker. And if you're an attacker, you have to be very clear who pays you. And if you defend, you have to be very clear that those in the outside are never your friends, no matter whether they are members of a community. You are there to defend your system. So to summarize, all the good attackers that I found in my life were very poor defenders. Often, if you specialize yourself, okay, and then either your left side or the right side of your brain develops. But actually, the training is shared. But at the end of the day, yes, well, there are different skills, so to speak, or there are two different things, okay? Well, if you to be a good defender, you really need to know how they will attack you. It is as when you do risk analysis. Well, you really need to know the context. You don't really need to have a background to identify threats. Then there is a difference. Well, then you may like to break more than to build, so to speak. But I think attackers and defenders are just similar. However, they play different roles. They wear different hats. But I think a good defender also knows how to make a good attack. I share my Israel view. Well, you really need to learn to attack, to learn how to defend. I think war games should be regular practice and should be more practiced within the community. So, as an attacker, you know what company should do to protect itself. This does not mean that qualifies you to have detailed understanding of the technology and to implement solutions. However, you can give hints. And well, but yes, I think that the person making the command, the attack, is not the right person to do the defense. And actually, those of you who talked about teamwork, well, I'm sure that in the team there are backstabbers, attackers, defenders, social engineering person. We didn't discuss that, but yes, the technical side sounds very good. But as I said, that companies are not investing, are not demanding security experts. Well, they are starting to do so. They will increasingly do so. They will protect themselves more and more. And then attacking them technically will become more difficult. Then people will start to use groups of attacks where social engineering becomes much more important than technical hacking, and especially considering, well, available time. Yes, that's the problem. If you are A good attacker, when it comes to defending, you don't know how to defend the system. You think that you have to save the system. So, and then you say, no, that is a team, okay? Hello? Can you hear me? I have a question. When I heard all that, I didn't read the law, I didn't know what it says. But I can see two opposing things here. So you are comparing this ID to a food handling certification. Well, I don't know anyone who had it, who has it. Well, but I think that that certification is about washing your hand before you grab food. And, well, I do penetration testing myself. Someone goes and tells me, do you know that the information that you get from a server, when you do that, you cannot disseminate it? Yes, I know it. Okay, this is your ID card. If you tell me that this is like bureaucracy, no one will assess whether I'm good or bad. So barmen are not asked to work on a tightrope to see whether they still save the drinks on the tray or not. So that ID card that looks like a purely something bureaucratic, if that changes into you need this qualification, you need this degree, you need to have a safe chamber, it's such a huge difference. And the two things have been discussed here. The thing is that I didn't read the law, but I don't know how close or far that drafting is from reality. Yes, you have explained yourself very well, but actually we small companies, the small security companies are the most afraid of that because we advocated for non-intrusivism, for removing physical security people, and now, well, we know that security companies or such as Eulen, well, they have money, okay? But if the ministry is asking me to pay 500,000 euros per month, that will ruin my company. So this would be could be a huge barrier. So sometimes achieving that, well, achieving that certificate could not only take lots of time, but also like lots of money. We are very concerned because if that is the case, if that is a requirement, we will not be able to employ you. I'm not aware of all the details of the new regulation. Well, I heard about it, but there are many worrying issues. For instance, small companies may find ourselves in a situation of having to close down our company because we cannot, perhaps we will not be able to make the same investment that is required from companies that offer private security services. If we compare the private security guard with a hacker, and then we start to talk about the same training facilities, training, accreditations, recognitions. That will be very, very difficult for small companies such as mine if that is, well, goes like that. So, for instance, those who are thinking about setting up their own company, so think about the huge investment that you will have to make, well, in order to get that certificate and to work. Okay, so two more questions. Okay, and then well, one third question over there. Okay, good afternoon. From what Roman says about cyber weapons, so me as a citizen, I would be very much at ease if it were a registry. I'm not talking about a certification requiring huge investment. Well, if you want to work as a hacker, you register, you get your recognition. That is not frightening. Okay, so if I go into a bank and then I see a security person wearing, I don't know, some defense, well, it's not a problem for me. If we compare that to American society and to carrying weapons, careful. So we have talked about this food handling well, ID. You have to pay to get it. But well, I don't think we would just need to have a number of facilities and training, etc. It's just a certification, and that's it. Well, but when you become a food handler, you have that food handling certificate. You are 16 years of age, you want to make money, and then you want to work as a barman. You go to a restaurant, and then the restaurant pays you to get that certificate. But what happens with all the free projects that people do for the community? And there are many people in here like that. What happens with those projects? Those that we do for free for the community. Yes, I think that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as a... I understand what you say about the cyber weapon and I share it, okay? I don't want to have people, well, someone in the street carrying a weapon the same as someone carrying a computer. So search, I mean, I just don't want to be searched and I just don't want to be labeled. Not at all. So it is not a cyber weapon. The effect is absolutely different. Having a rootkit is not the same as having an M16. Of course. Okay, yes, I wouldn't mind to stand before a rootkit. You stand before the M16, okay? We should not exaggerate here. There is a difference between the impact of them two. There is a huge difference. Last question. I would like to start by congratulating you for this wonderful debate. You started talking about talent and the situation about talent. And I was, as you were speaking, I said, how do you retain talent? Well, you retain it with money. We all know that. And in the IT sector, whether it is security or hackers, I would like to reflect upon the following. If there is such a high demand of professionals and hackers, I know at least 20 or 25 hackers in Spain who are working abroad. However, I don't know any foreign hackers working in Spain. And now you are talking about these beautiful ID cards or certificates. Well, Roman is thinking about focusing that on research and community. Andres is focusing that on physical security companies. And what I can see here is what happened before in terms of the physical security certificates, where a number of academies were set up and they were promising false jobs, okay? And half of those people are unemployed nowadays and never made money. That could happen in our sector again, and many small companies could be negatively impacted by that. Roman said this is an attack to the sector, has nothing to do with legislation or with penal or criminal code. Well, having that ID is negative for all of us. Well, because there will come a time that a company will say, well, there are 50 people like you and I'm not interested in you. You started talking about talent and then you ended up talking about that. Talent is the key. Okay, you should thank Roman for that.
Hello again. Is there any remaining speaker over there? One question for you. I think we are reducing the topic of certification of hacker. This can be reduced to the simplest thing. The new law has now been brought into vigor, into force, done by a legislator who doesn't know a thing about what is a law of this. I don't want to get a fucking ID from a legislator who doesn't have any idea on the earth about what hackers are. If we would be trusting this system much more, or maybe perhaps wouldn't mind being given this manipulator ID or certification. I don't know if the day after tomorrow I will have to justify if I have a 5-port script and I can get a judicial order. Somebody can punish me or fine me because I don't have nothing, but the legislator does not know a thing about what hackers are. So we're running out of time. Selection. You mentioned this topic before, how hackers are selected, how people are selected. My own experience says to me, I need to spearhead for all those companies. For example, when I went through some interviews, some technical person interviewed me, not a person from human resources. A girl from human resources having no idea about this topic. This girl interview because he needs to know you are not a psychopath, a psycho. So she says, human resources says, don't hire this guy, because even though his face is like, I killed 50 people, he's very good at doing his job. So she skipped through human resources and went back to the company. So somebody with a technical profile is doing recruiting in very few companies. So it's difficult to persuade hackers into being human recruiters. The third point I was about to mention, I forgot it. My goodness, I forgot what I was. Lucky you! Are you plenty of pleasure? University. Okay, this is a very recurrent topic. That's why I wanted to bring it up. When somebody is talking about university in Spain, is to put it on the ground, to smash it. The more contact the person has had with the university, the worse his opinion is. So in my understanding, I always stand up for the university because I studied with people, professors, teachers, we were very good at doing their lessons, and they motivated me into doing so. But my case is just one single among thousands of thousands. What's the problem here? Okay, let's all of you should be university teachers and motivate people. Let's you guys become professor teachers. Otherwise, you don't know what's going on here. So this participant does not want the debate to wrap up. So nobody but a university teacher will know that people is losing and wasting their time at university. So I'm sorry to be the one single case, but precisely the more you have confronted the ugly part of the university, the more obligated you are to change that bad university. Many hackers here have become into being teachers because they are very well paid for that. So let's try to change this. And those people who are students at the classroom, let's make them be teachers on the desk, transmitting and conveying good knowledge and enjoying what they do. We ran out of time, sorry for this. You convey so much charming motivation. Last question to wrap up this debate. Hacker ID, yes or no, from Roman up to Julia. Okay, my coarse voice. It depends on everything. A priori, no ID hacker or hacker ID. I link with what he said. It depends on how things are articulated. Companies registry, yes, but regarding the hacker ID, it depends on how we can evaluate if you hackers can do your jobs. No hackers ID. Hacker Cologne? No. I agree with Andres. Yes to the registry of regulated companies. What is underneath if the company is regulated? These companies should be regulated. I wouldn't say for hackers, but at least yes for security consultant, but no for hackers. If it's compulsory, no to the hacker ID and no to the company ID. This has to be decided by the famous market regarding services services provided to the public administration, the normalization or certification has to be volunteer. Yes, yes, in the professional world, and yes to the professional registry. The end is wrapped. Julian, the last question. As I am a journalist, so I pay attention to the headlines in the newspapers. Some days ago in Barcelona, a very illustrious and prominent hacker and their cap, there were related and playing signatures with the King of Spain. How do you perceive if it is beneficial, this image of a hacker for all of you guys?
Lo primero de todo.
Very firstly, RootedCon exists because Chema Loss on the very first day was there helping us. Point one. Point two, Chema is all a character. The cap is his brand name, and he acts consequentially. Not everybody is a Telefonica high director with Chema's profile. From my viewpoint, Chema is the best possible representative for this community. Chema with the King of Spain with their cap on. The red cap on. I do think it's very positive that somebody inside the security industry, knowing the security industry, represents us and speak for us. I am a Republican guy, so I don't know what the fuck is doing Chema with the King of Spain. This is more people. My goodness. The problem are stereotypes in the very end. Everybody has his own personal way of communication, but the stereotypes are very bad, especially the press. The press looks for somebody with a snowboard skating on the house. I do think Chema's communication is good, but the King of Spain, Felipito, the little Philip, is not good. In this very case, be careful with the stereotypes because general directors or CEOs in companies, or you are a super Chema, the freaking guy in the world, or the general director won't pay attention to you. What the fuck are you doing with me, guy? Chemas represents the hacker world much more, but not to the business of security business. I mean, be careful on that. My goodness, being risky to be politically incorrect. I do think, personally speaking, that this is a marketing action purely and solely, which has anything to do with this. In some more serious scenarios, it would be weighing badly, negatively. I think we can leave it out, and we should have won much more. I do support George's vision. When you communicate so many serious things about the system status and so on, we should not be trivial on this. I do think Kaspersky gave us much better example compared to the one you mentioned before. This is the end of this debate. I do ask you a round of applause to all of you guys, a round of applause to the participants, the panelists in this debate. Either Luis or myself as representative of the Sigma magazines, thank you all guys. Thank you especially to the RootedCon organization. This is a magnificent event. We learned so much. And Roman, last bullshit. You have a coarse voice. Your voice is totally destroyed. So now you say the farewell. Thank you all my fellow friends, the audience, being so hard with all us. Please read the laws that affect you, because I'm surprised that many people still don't understand the consequences derived from these new laws. So next year we'll go back to this issue. So tomorrow, please be punctual, be on time. Thank you all for your attendance. See you tomorrow.